Hey, it's Tom. Welcome back to my kitchen. It's a beautiful fall day, and we're invited over to a friend's for dinner tonight. They're expecting that delicious pumpkin pecan cake with the bourbon glaze, but it's time for another fall dish. And so we're gonna make a French dessert similar to an American pie, but it is a Tarte Tatin. So we're starting with seven apples, and I have a combination here of Granny Smith and Honeycrisp. So I have 4 Granny Smith and 3 Honeycrisp. Use whatever combination you want. But this is going to be a great dish because what we're going to do is we're going to first cut up the apples, macerate them. We're going to let them sit for about 20 minutes doing that. Then we're going to make a caramel in a pan. And then we're going to put the apples on top of that caramel, let them cook some more. We're going to cover it with a crust, put it in the oven, and then we're going to flip it out, serve it upside down. So I like this much better than standard American apple pie because there's not as much crust. And then you're not going to get a piece of apple that has like a big clump of cinnamon on it, just because people do that. And, oh, excuse me, I just got in from a 25-mile bike ride. Hair is looking a little crazy. So anyway, we have our apples and we want them in eighths. So for those of you who are never good in math, we have our apple, we're going to cut it in half. We're going to cut each half into another half. So now we have fourths. And now we're going to cut each of these in half again. So we end up with eighths. You got that? So 1 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 8. So now we're just going to quickly take a sharp paring knife and we're going to core these apples. And don't worry if when you're coring it, if it cracks in half, because there's going to be plenty of these that, people will not see that crack because, of course, in the pan, because we love our friends and our family, we take utmost care in creating not only delicious dishes, but things that look great. So we are going to artfully arrange these in that caramel as they cook. So I have my 7 apples, half a cup of sugar. Then I have the rind of a lemon, and then the juice from that lemon, which yielded about 2 tablespoons. So this will help those apples not to discolor as they're macerating. So let me just grab a spatula and give this a little turn. Now if you happen to find that your lemons are a little bit tough or dry, a great trick is to wash it, put it in the microwave for about 20 to 30 seconds, and it will soften it up and yield more juice for you. Again, when you take it out, make sure it's not too hot, because if you do, when you go to cut into it, it'll spurt all over the place. So anyway, these are all blended with the lemon juice, the lemon rind, and the sugar. So let's come back in 20 minutes. Okay, the apples are almost finished their little job of exuding their juices. I've taken care and have washed my hair, so I'm good to go for the party tonight. So now we're going to make the caramel sauce. So we're going to start by putting 6 tablespoons of butter. This is a 12-inch nonstick pan, and you want to make sure you get out your tape measure, measure it, because we're going to want to have our pie crust be that same size. So we're going to let that butter melt. Talk about simple. Here is a recipe that has a pie crust, apples, a little lemon, butter, sugar. Easy. That's what, people are always, confounded by French cooking, but it's just really good ingredients and few ingredients. So that butter's going. I'm going to add in a cup of sugar. And Julia Child says, always make sure you stir this with a wooden spoon. Maybe they didn't have silicone back when she wrote the recipe. But let's let that go to town for a little bit. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to drain the apples. So I have this bowl. Did I tell you about this bowl? I bought this bowl in Rome in 1981. Also brought back 5 for my sisters. Lovely pasta bowl, but of course bowls are all-purpose. They knew how to do several things. So we're just going to put the colander over that bowl. Here are the delicious apples, not delicious apples, Granny Smith and Golden Delicious, not Golden Delicious, what did I say? That other type of apple. Just going to pour that in there. Let that juice drain out. You know, you hate to let that juice go to waste. It's a little sugary, a little lemony, but I bet we could let that cook with some vodka. Not cook, add to some vodka and make like a lemon drop martini or something. Okay, the apples, I'm going to put them out here on this baking sheet because when we're going to arrange them nicely in this pan, you know, I want to know right away what I'm working with and what I can work with going forward into making our decoration. So we're going to let this melt, let this start to caramelize, and then we'll begin to put our apples in. Okay, look at that caramel. That only took about 5 minutes to come to that nice tan color. I can hear that almost all of the sugar has melted, so it's not grainy. So now we're going to put the apples in here. I'm going to turn off the heat just so that it doesn't continue to cook while I'm doing this. So it doesn't matter, you know, as we're mixing the apples, you know, you're not trying to do this one, that one, and rotate. But I'm going to just start layering these in the pan in concentric circles. Now YouTube only gives me 15 minutes to do a whole recipe. So we're going to take a little pause here as I finish doing this. Alrighty, so I've gotten them in the lovely concentric circle. And then there was enough for the bottom layer. I added some more to the top because these will shrink down. And it doesn't matter that the top layer then doesn't look as pretty because we're going to invert it so they're not going to see that top one. So if they're not perfectly arranged, if one's poking out, just remember these are going to shrink down. Now these are going to cook stovetop for about 20 to 25 minutes. And as they're doing this, they're going to start exuding even more juices. And we're going to use those juices to baste the top layer. So you can see on the side here, you know, you're starting to see a little juice coming off already. So we're just going to watch that. And in about 20-25 minutes, this will be ready to have a pie crust put on top and then go into the oven to finish. So let's just keep basting and we'll check back in a few minutes. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes and let's take a look. Those are delicious. And I can feel that they are soft. They've shrunk down a bit. You want to make sure you don't poke too much. You don't want to ruin the design. So now we're going to put the pie crust on top of it. But before we do that, just going to gild the lily a little bit. I have some Armagnac. So Julia doesn't call for this, surprisingly, you know. But I just want to sprinkle in. Maybe that was a tablespoon or so. Yum. Okay. Have our pie crust here. You know, if you're ever making pie crust, always make 2 and you can put 1 in the freezer. Because that's where this one came from. So, covers it nicely. So what I'm going to do is turn this into the sides of the pan. Ooh, it's hot. Oh, I forgot to mention that, you know, when you're arranging the apples inside that caramel, sugar is really hot. So if you place one in and it looks misplaced, don't do it with your fingers. find tongs or something like that and use that to flip it over, rearrange it, whatever you need to do. So now with this, let me just fix this corner over here. Looks good. I'm going to grab a knife and just going to make some little air vents in here. Again, this is going to be the bottom of the pie. No one's going to see that. You can already see the juices starting to jump out of there. Let's just tuck even with the knife. Okay, this is going to go into a 425 degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes. We'll see when that crust looks brown. Okay, now for the moment of truth. Here it is, 20 minutes out of the oven. It's pulled a bit away from the side of the pan, so it shrunk down. So the trick is how to get this onto the platter. So I was thinking about, I don't have a 12-inch platter. This one is 12 inches, but it's like 12 inches from rim to rim. So it's just about the same size of the pan. It shrunk. So then I was thinking, well, I could put it onto this cookie sheet. Ouch. See? Leave your pot holder on the thing. You could do it, but then I would never be able to transfer it off of here onto a serving plat, so I need bigger platters. But I think I'm going to give this a shot. So again, very hot. So, put this on top. And as Julia Child would say, with the courage of your convictions, I'm pressing down on this so that it doesn't go flying when I do the flip. And if something happens, just cover it with whipped cream. Okay, let's take a closer look so you can see. Didn't come out perfectly, so I'm going to get my spatula. I'm going to shimmy this around just a little bit and just delicately arrange these apples back on top. Clean up those edges a little bit, and I don't think anybody's going to complain about the way that looks because it's going to taste amazing. Maybe add a little whipped cream or some delicious vanilla ice cream, and we're all set. So whatever you're making this fall, make sure you enjoy it. And until we eat again, bye.